leadership. Leadership is what does not allow that to happen. So make sure that the kids and their teachers are not being marginalized, that they feel fully a part of the school. And especially when we see growing numbers of ELL kids in our schools, we've got to make sure all of our teachers get some skills to work with English language learners and not treating them like special populations. There are other signs to a dysfunctional culture, and that shows up especially in the area of discipline. Schools that think they're going to weed out bad kids. You ever hear that? You know, our problem at this school is we just have a few bad kids. If we can just get rid of those bad kids, it'll be all okay. What's wrong with that theory? What's wrong with that theory of action? Say again? They're all going to. Well, let me give a story to illustrate that point. I'm working with a school in Oakland, middle school, and they have low test scores, and the district is putting pressure, raise these scores, and the teachers push back. Our problem is disruptive kids, too many disruptive kids. So finally the superintendent says, okay, we're going to help. We're going to send in a specially trained teacher to work with your most disruptive kids. I said, thank you. Bless him. Help is here. So they said, identify the most disruptive kids. They identified 24 African-American boys. They said, we're going to put them in a separate classroom. We're going to put them on a separate schedule. They're going to come later, leave earlier. They're going to have a special curriculum for them. They're going to have field trips. It's not going to be a punishment room. It's going to be special. Make it all special. And then you're going to be able to teach, right? And they said, thank you, finally. So they identify the boys. They set up, they assign a brand new, inexperienced teacher to teach these boys. Right? He's a former football player, so they say, well, you know, he can handle these boys. And he's enthusiastic at first. He's actually one of my former students. His enthusiasm lasts about 3 days before he and the kids realize they've been set up, and they start taking out all their anger at him because they want to eat lunch with the other kids, and they don't like being in this room with him all day, and it gets ugly in there. But the most interesting thing about the story is what happens to the rest of the school. What happens when I go to talk to the teachers and ask them, how's your class now? They got rid of that kid. What do you think they say? Say, new kids have emerged. New kids have emerged to disrupt. You know what they said? They said, we need one more of those classrooms. That's what we need. If we just got one more, we can really solve this problem. What's wrong? What's wrong here? What are they not seeing at this school? What are they not seeing? That they need to change what? That they had a problem? Well, actually, what I pointed out to them, I said, you know what? I've been observing classrooms here, and one of the things I noticed is some of your teachers never have disruptions. They said, really? I said, yeah, I can name you some of them. They don't ever have disruptive kids. I said, why don't we find out who they are and we'll learn more about what they do? The answer to our discipline problems is often right there in our schools. You look at who does referrals, and you will never find it's consistent. Some people are giving out way more referrals than other people, aren't they? And usually when you follow the trail back to the why all these kids are being sent out, what you will find is bad teaching going on. Bad teaching will produce bad behavior, won't it? Some kids, they say, for just the sake of relief, I'm going to have to disrupt this place because this is so bad. Someone needs to entertain. Someone needs to bring some life to this room. Right? We need to recognize, and it's not to say, I don't want to, there are kids who have some serious behavior challenges. Okay? And some kids do need specialized services. They might need counseling. They might need aggression management. They might need help that a classroom teacher can't provide. And in those cases, we need to really problem solve. But I always say the first step in any discipline process has got to be what's behind the behavior problems. What are we dealing with here? If a kid is acting out because they can't read and they're embarrassed by that, we'll send him to the office to solve that problem? No. Usually make it worse. And if the kid is acting out because they're abused or neglected at home, will sending them home solve the problem? No. We have to, if you find you are punishing the same kids over and over again, what does that tell you? It's not working, that's what it says. And why isn't it working? Because kids who've given up on learning are the hardest kids to discipline, right? Why? because they don't care anymore. You tell a kid who's failing, I'm going to fail you, what do they say? Fail me. Tell a kid who doesn't like school, I'm going to suspend you, what do they say? Suspend me. There's nothing you got that can hurt me, nothing. You got to lock me up because nothing you can do for me matters because school doesn't matter. Those are the hardest kids to discipline. So part of our strategy has got to be to reconnect them to learning. Get school to matter again for them.